Hey everyone, Zola back today with layer styles part duh. Sorry I was away at the weekend. I had a quick trip to Switzerland. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen some of the pictures. It was awesome. But yeah, let's get back into layer styles. So we're going to carry on going down this menu. And so we've explained bevel and emboss, and we've seen how that can give a layer a kind of like 3D effect. So as we move down, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna do these like not quite in order, but one thing you should know is that these plus things are new, and it means you can have like more than one, and I'll show you the reasoning behind that in a bit. So yeah, let's go to gradient overlay next, and I've ticked it here, and it's a pretty simple menu. I mean, like if you've used the gradient tool out here, and you might have seen me use it a couple of times, you can use the gradient. And again, like the gradients panel is available in both. Let me just cancel that. If I click in here, let me just click out of here as well. If you click up here, you'll see there's exactly the same gradients panel. So anytime you find a gradient that you like, you can hit new and it will save the gradient like here in your panel, and then you can access them, you can load them, download them from the internet and stuff. Obviously Photoshop comes with some pretty horrific ones. I'm going to delete that one just because I think it's horrific. That is the worst gradient I've ever seen. Yeah, there's some like literally foul ones, but yeah, just so you know, like there is like a general gradient library. So we're going to turn the gradient on again. If we have a look here, so first of all you got your blend mode, and this is important because let me change from this gradient to a black and white and show you why. Let's make this text. I'm going to hit T, which will bring up our text menu, and then I can select because I have the text selected, I can change the color of the text. So let's make it like a kind of like green, I guess. And then we're going to go back into layer styles. Now, if I go to gradient overlay, you'll see it's going to do this. But if I do this, and I do this a lot, if you change it to like not overlay so much, but soft light, and then like bring this down, you can add like a really nice subtle gradient from light to dark, and you can even angle it if you wanted to. And I use this like a hell of a lot because it's a really nice way to add just a subtle bit of color variation, because it's a lot nicer to look at things when they're not exactly like you know, like garish, but maybe a bit more subtle. So just so you know, you can do that. You can also do it like with multiply, and that would like darken it. And so you know, you got all your blend modes, and you know, I did a lesson on blend modes, so you should know what they're like by now. I'm going to go back to the gradient we had on here, or something similar. Let's choose this one here and set this back to up here. If you come down here and drag, you can like move your gradient around. You can scale your gradient up and down. I'm going to leave this like this. We've got this kind of like bluey metal look going on, I guess. I'm going to try and center this into the middle of here. Align with layer, you can reverse the gradient, which does exactly what you think it would. And then you have the different types of gradient. You got your radial one, which we can't really see that well. You got the angled one, which is that kind of thing. If you look in the preview here, you can see what I mean. But again, like, and the diamond, which is like diamond, I guess. But yeah, linear is my favorite and probably the most useful. And again, like, play with the scale. So gradient is cool. Outer glow is also cool. So what this will do is let you add a glow however subtle or garish you want to the outside of your text. You got the softer one, which gives you this like nice softer glow, and this is basically like when you go from light to dark. At the moment it's going in a linear line, but you can change the kind of look of your glow by choosing these, and so now you got these kind of funkier kind of glows, which are pretty cool. Again, I'm going to leave that there. The range is just like how much this affects, like based on the size of your glow, and this is just like whereabouts that effect is falling. It's one of those that's hard to describe, but if you just move that slider around a bit, you'll probably know what I mean. Again, I'm going to keep this really subtle. And again, the layer styles, you can change the layer styles. I'm going to make this slightly like green or blue, I guess, to match with the text. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty simple, right? I guess. I'm gonna hit OK here and just change the background here to like maybe like a slightly darker grey. I always go the wrong way when I do that. So maybe something like this, just so we can see what drop shadow does. So if we do a drop shadow, you'll see it adds a light little shadow in the background. Super useful. Again, you can link this to your global light if you've got one. Darker or lighter, how far the shadow is. Now the good thing about having plus is with something like a drop shadow, if you want it to look realistic, then you might want to have like one or two of these stacked. So you might have one that's like pretty close and not quite sharp, but then if you duplicate this and then have one which is like maybe a bit softer, a bit further away, and like just a bit bigger, and the combination of these two shadows will create an effect that's a lot more. So if we look at these alone, like that's kind of nice, but by adding like that little bit of sharpness in there, you get a more realistic looking 3D shadow. And so that's why I would recommend stacking these in the same way that you could like duplicate this gradient and then add like the black to white overlay one, and then like burn this even more from like light to dark. I'm going to try that on the fly. I'm not sure if it'll work, but in theory it should. Let's change this to soft light, or maybe like an add. Yeah, so like again, like I can move this around, and maybe it's a bit too bright, but you get the idea. Like you can use one to burn into the other, and maybe I would have like used this as an overlay instead. And so it's all about stacking your layer styles. Satin adds a kind of like, it's really hard to describe this, kind of like an inner shadow almost. I don't know why it's called satin. It doesn't really look like satin, but by change, you can see it's adding like almost a cellular pattern. And here we have this like weird contour. I'm going to pick something else, but it's pretty hard to see, if I'm honest. Like if I move to normal, you should have a better idea of what's going on. And as you can see, as we come to the middle, you get these like weird lines. And this is just for adding like a bit of texture to make something look a little broken up and not quite so flat. So I'll usually add it, but like really subtly, just to kind of like make the inside feel a bit different. Inner glow is like outer glow, but guess what? It's in the middle. Yeah, so you can bring the inner glow in from the sides. Again, we've got it on precise. You can soften that up, and when you soften that up, you'll get something more akin to that. We've got it on color dodge here, but we can set it to like screen. Actually, I'm going to leave it on color dodge because that's quite nice. And yeah, choke basically brings it in or out. And we've got this weird contour at the moment, which is like making our softness go away. So let's do that. And as you can see, you can add it as like quite a subtle effect, and choke it again, choke it in, choke it out. And the other thing you can do is have it from the middle. So if you click center and then bring this in, you can have it so it just kind of picks up the middle. And this is the way to make something feel like it has a bit of a bump at the top, like in the inside, and so it darkens the edges a bit. And you can do that even more by having an inner shadow, which does exactly the opposite to inner glow. And you can change the size of this thing, and how far in it is. But if you keep it at a distance of 0, it kind of acts like the complete opposite of the inner glow. If you add a distance to it and remove the size, then you get this kind of like weirder kind of like inside drop shadow. So it makes it look like almost like you're looking into the layer, which can be kind of cool, So and again, I can move these things around by coming down and grabbing the layer here. So yeah, that's that. And then last but not least, we got the stroke. Now the stroke does exactly what it says on the tin. So this is going to work in conjunction with everything else you got going on. As you can see, you can like change the gradient. So let's change this to like the similar gradient. I'm not sure if this is exactly the one I worked with earlier, but and we can reverse it, but let's keep it like, so we've got like some bright highlights, and just change the scale a bit, just to kind of make it feel slightly different. Overprint is something to do with printing, you don't need to know that. So again, I've kept this really subtle, so just having like a size of 1. I usually use it as a gradient. You can have it as a flat color, but it's not quite as nice the effect you get even if I select like white. I mean, you get this kind of effect, but what I'll usually do is go to a gradient, and it works nicely because I have quite a complex gradient here, so to kind of duplicate that. But if not, something like white and black variations and this kind of like harsh to soft gradients will work really nicely to break up the edge. So yeah, I mean, that's it. That's layer styles, and you can see like the complete difference that this makes to your text. And a really cool little trick that I'm going to show you now as well is once you have the way you look, you want your text to look, you can go down here, right click on the effects and hit create layers. And what this will do is it will create a layer for every single one of your effects, which means that if I get something like, let's have a look at the stroke here. Yeah, the stroke, you can then double click here and add like an outer glow to just the stroke. Let me see, outer glow. Yeah, so now I'm adding an outer glow to the stroke. So it's kind of way of like, you know, like I can go and just, it's a kind of way of like once you've run out of like effects to use, it's kind of like way of starting again almost. And so now if I add like a subtle little glow to this, I apologize for this jumping around, it's my Wacom. Yeah, just add like a subtle little glow, which you can see here on the inside. And so yeah, and also like you can then like fade and like even maybe the drop shadows, like, you know, move those around, and you know, now we got something that looks more 3D. So yeah, I hope that was useful. As you can see here, really powerful. This is just plain text, but yeah, we've got what looks like, you know, like a 3D word, which might have been made in a 3D program. So thanks for watching, guys. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.